scenario, if you wanted to tie up the country without exacerbating and totally destroying the whole world, you would do it over the eastern seaboard. If you did that, the rest of the country would spend all their effort trying to keep those people alive. Now, everything with the circuit would get fried. Obviously, military targets are, or military installations are hardened. Assume about 40%. You know, obviously the living quarters aren't for the people on base, but the high-end important stuff is hardened against it. So we're going to talk about, I'm going to specifically talk about Manhattan, and 6 months out from an EMP, you can expect 90% losses. And there's my website's name. So, why do I say 90% losses? Well, here's the bad number. So if you're older, you're pretty much dead on arrival. Some other things to keep in mind. If somebody you know is in prison at the time, you can just pretty much assume they're dead, because if you were a prison guard and there was an EMP, most prison guards would live within 5 miles of their or 10 miles of their employment. So why would you release a bunch of killers when anarchy reigns? No, they're just going to leave them locked up. Or the more likely scenario is some guard's going to go there and just wipe them out. He's going to shoot them in the cells. And remember, there will be no supplies. Just to let you know, I should have asked my brother this, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on the money on this. My brother works for HEB, is in charge of all the trucks and buying all the truck parts. But and HEB is one of the top 10 grocery chains in the U.S. But I'm going to guess all of them pretty run the same thing. I imagine every HEB in town gets at least 2 trucks a day. When you scan something with your that has the barcode on it, it automatically puts an order in for, and it comes back a replacement on the next truck out, or as soon as they can. So everything's always in transit. They don't keep stuff on hand. And after an EMP, everybody's going to strip the shelves. You've seen what happens when looters, when there's just a natural catastrophe. Well, imagine one that never ends. And another thing about the nuclear power plants I'll go over with you, there's only about 5,000 people who know how to turn off a nuclear reactor. You could probably stretch that to another 2,000 people that are smart enough to read a book and do it. Now, most of our reactors actually will go into standby mode when the power isn't needed, and they'll actually go into standby mode. But the problem with the reactors is not that, because the fuel rods come down and they're in water, so they automatically, if the water goes away, they stop getting hot. The problem is the storage facilities. There'll be slow leakage, and all around the country, around nuclear power plants, there will be poison. There will be poisoning happening. Here's a little map of all the nuclear reactors around the country here. So just keep this in mind. You want to stay away from them. They're not going to be like Chernobyl's, except for maybe a few. There might be like and there's some things that aren't on here, like, for instance, Alamogorda's not on there, Panics is not on there, Hanford's not on there. But the something to keep in mind, there will be radiation leaks and poisoning from these reactors. I'm going to do a little mental exercise of what would happen if you were in Manhattan and everything went south. There was an EMP. So here's a representation of Manhattan Island. Let me slide Chicago underneath here. All the major cities are going to be death traps. Chicago, on a good day, has a lot of murders, and with total anarchy, you're dead meat in Chicago. L.A., Baltimore, all the major cities are all going to be death traps. So let's go over what's going to happen in Manhattan. So here's the island, Manhattan. Here's Roosevelt Island. There's Liberty Island. They're not exactly in the right place, but anyway, and there's bridges that connect it to the outlying areas. With no power, all the subways fill up with water within 2 weeks. So even if you wanted to go underground, that's not a viable option. So, they'll all fill up with water 2 weeks. The bridges to get out, you can bet there's going to have clogged, cars are going to be stopped in the middle of the road, so you're screwed there. And that one might be, if you live in one of these major cities, you may want to nest in place, because even if you were to leave Manhattan, you're going to other high population density areas. You might actually be best, if I was in Manhattan, I'd try to find a little raft, and I'd try to go to Long Island. That's what I would do. But walking around there with all them crazy ass Hillary voters would be tantamount to suicide. Now most of them are just going to think the power went out. Not that many people are going to know that it's not going to ever come back on. And how you would know, just because the power went out, your smartphone wouldn't work, none of your phones would work. If you had a car that was like really old, I'm talking about like 70s, if you could get a jump start on it, you could probably drive it, but where are you going to drive it? You're only going to have one tank of gas. And like I said, there's going to be so many cars jamming all the streets, you're not going to be able to get around them. So even if you did have a car, you wouldn't be able to go anywhere with it, because I mean there would be traffic jams, there would be just abandoned cars, because remember, there would be cars driving when the EMP happens, and they would stop and crash and catch fire. So you couldn't really even drive anywhere, even if you had an older car and you could replace the solenoid yourself. So there would still be water from various water towers around the city. Pumps pull up water into the high points, and then they use gravity to disperse them down. So for maybe a day you'd have water. So you better fill everything up with water. There's not going to be a whole, like I said, it's probably going to be 90% outside of 6 months. And here's a little thing to keep in mind. They've done studies all the time, and they reinforce each other. The magic number, everybody will stay pretty much civilized till they miss 9 meals. 9 is the magic number. After you've missed 9 meals, you can throw every civilization thing away. You'll kill, eat, there'll be rampant cannibalism. And there's another thing that's going to happen in several weeks afterwards, the medication. So if you're a diabetic, you're dead. If you're on all kinds of medication, you're dead. Any kind of life sustain, because they're whatever you have on hand, that's it. Now here's going to be another thing. Here's going to be the zombie apocalypse, if you will. So there's going to be a lot of people that have meds that keep them from going crazy. So at about the 2-week point, everybody's going to start running out of their mental stuff, their stuff to keep them calm and everything. So you're going to have a lot of people just running around like total crazies. I mean, batshit crazy at the 2-week mark. So you need to get ready. Here's some common things you can get like tomorrow. You can get Clorox, whatever medicine you're on, firearms and ammo, food, water, tarps, rope, containers, duct tape. Highly recommend all that. Now, if you do bug out into the wild, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to die. It's going to kill you soon if you're a city slicker. So here's some common biological hazards. I mean, just house and garden plants that'll kill you. I got a list of everything here. Trees and shrubs that'll kill you, crop plants, funguses, algae. One kind of thing that if you could buy a lot of it to keep yourself going, would be black seed oil. That would cover a multitude of sins. It's pretty cheap. I'd get me about 8 or 10 bottles. That would cost you approximately $200. But it's called black seed oil. It's from black cumin, oil of oregano, vinegar, bicarbonate of soda, peroxide, Clorox. A little bit of Clorox will help sterilize water. And anyway, keep this in mind. Like I said, if you're in a high area like this, like Manhattan, you're pretty much screwed anyway. But anyway.